The group arrived in Venice early in the morning, stepping off the train at Santa Lucia station. The first sight of the Grand Canal took their breath away. Gondolas and vaporettos glided through the emerald green waters, flanked by centuries-old buildings with pastel facades. Tomasz leaned on the railing, grinning.
This is like stepping into a painting. Are we sure this is real?
Marco, their guide, adjusted his jacket and gestured toward the canal.
Welcome to Venice, the City of Canals. Our first stop is Piazza San Marco, but we'll take the scenic route. Follow me.
They boarded a vaporetto, Venice's water bus, and cruised along the Grand Canal. Giulia had her camera out immediately, snapping pictures of every passing palace.
Look at that one, Palazzo Barbaro. The details on the windows are incredible.
Anna, sitting next to Marco, leaned closer to ask a question. These buildings seem so fragile. How do they stand on water?
Marco smiled, always ready with an answer.
Venice was built on wooden piles driven into the mud and clay. Over time, the wood petrified due to lack of oxygen. That's why these structures have stood for centuries, though rising water levels are a challenge.
The vaporetto stopped near the Rialto Bridge, one of Venice's most iconic landmarks. The group stepped off and walked toward the bridge, its stone arches bustling with tourists and market stalls. Tomasz pointed to a stand selling fresh seafood.
Is it too early for snacks? Those fried calamari look amazing.
Marco laughed.
Let's wait for lunch. For now, enjoy the view. This bridge has connected the two sides of the Grand Canal since the 16th century.
They climbed to the top of the bridge, where they could see the canal stretching in both directions, filled with gondolas and small boats delivering goods. Giulia captured the scene from every angle.
This is magical. I could stay here all day.
Anna leaned against the railing, her gaze fixed on the water below.
It's so different from anywhere we've been. It's like time has stopped here.
The group continued walking through the narrow streets, crossing smaller bridges and passing by charming boutiques and cafes. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee wafted through the air, tempting them to stop. But Marco had other plans. They finally reached Piazza San Marco, Venice's grandest square. Marco gestured toward the towering Campanile di San Marco and the ornate Basilica di San Marco with its shimmering mosaics.
This is the heart of Venice. The Basilica, built in the 11th century, reflects the city's connection to the East. Notice the Byzantine influence in its design.
Anna stared up at the basilica's domes, her eyes wide with wonder.
The gold mosaics. It's like they're glowing in the sunlight.
Tomasz, on the other hand, was more distracted by the flocks of pigeons gathering around tourists in the square.
Should I try feeding them? Or will they mob me?
Marco, smirking, shook his head.
Best not to. Let's head into the Basilica. It's even more stunning inside.
Inside, the group marveled at the intricate mosaics that adorned every inch of the ceiling, depicting biblical stories in radiant gold. Giulia whispered as she took photos, careful not to disturb the quiet atmosphere.
It feels like stepping into a treasure chest. Everything sparkles.
After spending some time inside, they emerged back into the square, where the Torre dell'Orologio, the clock tower, chimed the hour. Marco glanced at his watch.
That's our morning tour. Let's take a break and grab some lunch by the canal. You've earned it.
Tomasz clapped his hands.
Finally! I've been waiting all morning for some Venetian seafood.
The group laughed and followed Marco, the promise of a delicious meal ahead as the morning sun reflected off the water, casting a golden glow over their unforgettable day in Venice. After their morning exploration of Venice's iconic landmarks, the group settled at a small trattoria overlooking the Grand Canal. The gentle sound of water lapping against the stone walls mixed with the occasional calls of gondoliers. Plates of Venetian specialties were soon placed in front of them. Tomasz took a deep breath, savoring the aroma of his dish.
Risotto al nero di sepia, squid ink risotto. This looks intense, but I'm ready for the challenge.
Giulia snapped a photo of her plate, a colorful serving of sarde and sour, sweet and sour marinated sardines.
Everything here looks like art. Even the food tells a story.
Marco, cutting into his plate of Begolian salsa, thick spaghetti with an anchovy and onion sauce, explained.
Venetian cuisine reflects the city's history as a major trading port. Spices, seafood, and simplicity. Those are the pillars of our food.
Anna tried her first bite of fried mozzarella in carrozza, breaded and fried mozzarella sandwiches.
I could get used to this. Can we stay in Venice a bit longer?
The group laughed and enjoyed their meal, the warmth of the sun making the moment even more idyllic. After a leisurely lunch, Marco led them toward the Doge's Palace, a masterpiece of Gothic architecture that once housed the rulers of Venice. As they entered the grand courtyard, Anna stopped to admire the intricate details of the building's facade.
It's incredible how delicate it looks. The lace-like stonework must have taken years to create.
Marco nodded.
The palace was more than just a residence for the Doge. It was the seat of government and justice, symbolizing Venice's power and wealth. Follow me, I'll show you the Bridge of Sighs.
Inside, the group explored the opulent halls, their ceilings adorned with frescoes and gilded decorations. Julia couldn't resist capturing the details with her camera.
Every corner is like a painting. The art here feels alive.
Tomasz, less interested in the art, lingered by the window overlooking the canal.
This view beats any painting. Imagine living here and looking out at this every day.
Finally, they reached the Bridge of Sighs, a small enclosed bridge connecting the palace to the prisons. Marco explained its somber history.
Prisoners would cross this bridge after their sentencing, catching one last glimpse of Venice before their imprisonment. That's why it's called the Bridge of Sighs.
Anna gazed out through the small stone windows.
It's beautiful, but tragic at the same time. You can almost feel the weight of the history here.
Leaving the palace, the group strolled along the Riva degli Schiavoni, the wide promenade lining the waterfront. Gondolas bobbed gently in the water, their black hulls shining in the afternoon sun. Marco suggested they take a gondola ride to experience Venice from the canals. The group eagerly agreed, stepping into a sleek gondola with golden accents. Their gondolier, a cheerful man named Alessandro, began to row, singing softly in Italian. Julia, seated at the front, leaned over the edge to take photos of the narrow canals and ancient buildings.
This is the Venice I've always dreamed of. It's so peaceful out here.
Tomasz dipped his fingers into the water, smiling.
Okay, this might be my favorite part of the trip so far. Can we convince Alessandro to take us to dinner by gondola?
The group laughed as Alessandro chuckled and shook his head.
Dinner? Gondola? You'd have to pay me in gold for that.
Passing under the Rialto Bridge, the gondola glided into quieter canals, where laundry hung from windows and locals chatted from balconies. Anna sighed, taking it all in.
This city is full of contrasts. The grandeur of San Marco and the simple beauty of these back streets. They're both so magical.
As the afternoon turned to evening, the group disembarked near the Accademia Bridge, the sky beginning to blush with the colors of sunset. Marco checked his watch.
There's one last place I want to show you before dinner, the Peggy Guggenheim collection.
Inside the Modern Art Museum, they wandered through halls filled with works by Picasso, Pollock, and Dali. Julia, though a lover of traditional art, found herself captivated by the bold, abstract pieces.
It's amazing how Venice embraces both the old and the new. This collection feels so different from the Renaissance art we saw earlier.
Marco smiled.
That's Venice, always reinventing itself while preserving its past.
The group left the museum just as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting golden reflections across the canals. They decided to end their day at a small osteria, where they enjoyed fresh seafood pasta and glasses of Prosecco. Anna, raising her glass, smiled at her companions.
To Venice for showing us beauty at every turn.
Altogether, to Venice. The city's charm lingered with them as they walked back to their hotel, the moonlight shimmering on the canals. It had been a day filled with history, art, and unforgettable moments, and they knew Venice would remain in their hearts forever.
Thank you for watching. We're so glad you spent your time with us. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. It's a huge motivation for us to create more content. And make sure to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any new uploads. Thanks for your support, and see you in the next video.